evening to all of my many friends, also to my many enemies. Once again, this is your friend, brother, and humble servant, Roosevelt, coming back at you with another episode of Roosevelt Sounds Off. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in on today, and if you are not yet a subscriber to Roosevelt Sounds Off, I don't know what it is that you're waiting for, but this is an exciting type of a show, so you need to be a part of the action. Go down and hit the subscribe button along with the bell icon. This way you'll be notified anytime I drop a brand new video right here on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to get more into a certain subject, or let's just say a certain someone that we talked about in the last video, and that is the vice presidential nominee, Kamala Harris. For any of y'all who don't know, who probably been buried under a rock for the last week, that the Democratic National Convention happened virtually. And no, it's something that I didn't watch, because I don't have to sit up and waste my time watching that stupid, ignorant dog and pony show when I already have made up in my mind, come election day, if it doesn't get canceled or postponed, which now some of us are hoping that will happen. If it doesn't get postponed or canceled, I already know on election day what I am going to do. Because like I said in the last video, that between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, black people really do not have too much of a good choice. Because Joe Biden and the Democratic Party wants to sell themselves as they are the leaders and the bastions of freedom. But they are not. Because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have come up with many policies, especially Kamala Harris. Her record is not good. Her character even is not good. I mean, she had an affair, allegedly, some years ago with the mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown. And, you know, she was his mistress, even though he was married and everything. And, you know, breaking up a happy home pretty much. And, you know, that's how she got, you know, one of her first jobs in the prosecutor's office. So basically, you know, somebody who just, she only got on because she kind of slept her way to the top. Oh, poor jeez, dude, the woman is such a freaking slut, I tell you. So I don't have any kind of respect for anyone like this. But so many of you black people are not looking at this whole thing logically. You're looking at it emotionally, all because it's a so-called person of color, a so-called black woman who's going to be vice president, who is coming into the White House. You know, you're so anxious about that you're not looking at anything else that this woman has done. But today, I'm going to bring you a little bit of a story. I'm about to play a clip of a young man who's black in the California area who was wrongfully sent to prison by Kamala Harris's office. And you're going to see how this all played out. Stay tuned for this clip. It's a little bit long, but I hope that everybody will stick with it. And I'm going to come right back and tell you exactly what I think. Stay tuned for the clip.
Never in a million years I would have thought that they were going to charge me for Sale's murder. I never talked to no detective, no police officer, no DA, nobody.
Just arrested and then charged.
Arrested and charged, that's it.
Was the first time you saw Kamala Harris in person the day that the verdict was issued?
She showed up at the two most pivotal times in this first trial, and me being convicted and me being sentenced. She wanted to be present for a celebration of a conviction.
That's what it felt like, celebration?
A celebration, that's what it felt like. The reactions I get when I tell people my story is, they say it's the worst nightmare. You know, it's the closest thing to dying.
Jamal, I'm going to read you a quote real quick. The job of a progressive prosecutor is to look out for those overlooked, to speak up for those whose voices aren't being heard, to see and address the causes of crime, not just their consequences, and to shine a light on the inequality and unfairness that lead to injustice. It is to recognize that not everyone needs punishment, that what many need, quite obviously, is help. Kamala Harris wrote that in her book, The Truth We Hold. Does that sound consistent with the kind of with the brand of justice that you saw administered by offices that she was running?
It definitely sounds like Kamala Harris right now as a senator. But at the time of her being the head district attorney of San Francisco, that is almost polar opposite of what I felt and what our community felt in San Francisco.
So Jamal, where are we?
Right now we are in Sunnydale Projects, where I was born and raised at. Now, this isn't a place that you'll want to bring outsiders into, and a place that they don't want to go. This ain't a place that feels comfortable. It feels like you might get robbed, you might get shot.
The police were keeping files on you, and your brothers, and other people who were living in Sunnydale from a very young age.
They had already had me labeled because I'm in this community as a potential gang member, potential killer, potential drug dealer. You gotta wake up to the fact that, you know, things are set up against us.
There is a conspiracy.
Yes.
It happened to you.
Exactly. There is
proven in court.
Absolutely. Places like this have been developed for predominantly African-American people to not be able to succeed beyond it.
Yeah. What did you know about Kamala Harris? What did you know about San Francisco having a black DA?
Nobody in the hood ever worried or focused on the DA position in general, but people did focus on it just a tad bit, that it was black, and feeling like, okay, this black lady in office, Kamala Harris, she was gonna understand where we come from, you know, and have more of a sympathetic way of prosecuting people that come from our communities who have been plagued with no opportunities. This is Hunter's Point, where these different projects and communities used to really war with each other.
Jamal, in July 2007, what's going on in your life at that point?
I had recently just came off of I Love New York, and also that's when my friend Sel Kuka got killed.
More than a year goes by and no one's been arrested in the case. You hadn't even been questioned.
Haven't even been questioned, no. The police was still, you know, trying to get a conviction by all means necessary. When I was arrested for it, the community knew I didn't do it. And it was here we go again. See, this is why we don't trust, you know, law enforcement, because it gets to a point where somebody who didn't do something goes to jail for it. I don't have no history of crime. What's up, boy? I have a history of being around in the community, but that doesn't mean that I'm a suspect. I'm like, oh man, I'll be out within 72 hours. They're gonna figure this out. They're gonna clear this up.
And then when you found out what the evidence was that they supposedly had you on, there wasn't much there. Can you describe what it was?
They had a woman saying that she seen me kill Sel. The second witness that they had really wasn't a witness at all. She said anything that the police officers wanted her to say, and they said that her recollection of the events was extremely credible. So that's what ultimately got the arrest warrant.
The District Attorney of San Francisco, Kamala Harris, appeared in the courtroom during your trial twice.
Yeah, the two times that Kamala Harris showed up to my trial was when I got convicted, and also when they laid down the sentencing.
When you saw her on the day that the verdict was handed down, did you take that as a bad sign?
It felt to me that she was well aware about my case, and she was there to set her presence, almost take pride in getting a conviction. When I put in my appeal, the people that's fighting against my appeal to keep the conviction is the Attorney General office. I learned it reading, you know, their reply to my appeal, and you see Kamala Harris' name at the bottom. And now it's starting to feel a little personal.
When you win the $13.1 million, it's a massive settlement. Did you feel like that was enough?
There's not an amount that could get back those 7 years. That was 6.5 years that I spent in prison. But instead of me coming home feeling like I was a victim, I wanted to prove that I'm a survivor, and I will not let my story go unheard. You know, I'm not necessarily saying I'm looking for an apology, but some acknowledgement from her that she could have messed up would be, of course, that'd be huge. You could have made some mistakes. You could have missed some things. For me, it was a big miss. You know, I had life in prison. I've met people in prison that was wrongfully convicted. I want my story to be out to provoke reform, ultimately. Beyond that, I want to be able to be who I want to be. I'm an actor, you know, I'm a musician, I'm a father. I'm more than this person that was framed. I'm more than this person that was wrongfully convicted.
Now you see it, you saw it for yourself. But with all of that being said, all of that kind of stuff being done, this is the kind of person that you all want as a vice president. I can't believe it. Black people as a whole need to start looking, I feel, more at people's character and intentions rather than always looking at things so emotionally, and just because you know black people always want to do something to make history. You know, the first black person to do this or the first black person to do that. No, stop being so anxious for one of our own, or in this case, so-called, to make history, that you completely throw out every single thing that they did or said that was wrong. Because with this whole thing, the reason why I also say so-called, because a whole lot of people say, well, you know, she is a black woman and this and that. But the first time, many people don't know, the first time she ran for state's attorney in the state of California, they asked her like what her race was. She strictly said, well, I'm Asian or I'm East Indian. She kept it like that, you know, when she was around white people and other Asians. But around black people, she decided to come out and say that she's black. So in other words, somebody who is ashamed, first of all, I feel, of who or what it is that they are. And they take the racial titles of black or East Indian or Asian or whatever and put it on and take it off whenever they feel like it. Definitely somebody who lacks character, somebody who should lack our trust, and somebody who should not be in public office. And I know what a whole lot of black people are saying, you know, I can smell your dirty hides, I live you from over here. Because it's not like I can only smell you. It's certain things that some of you all, or at least I've heard some of you all say. Well, Biden don't, you know, yeah, a whole lot of black people talk about, well, you know, if Biden get elected into the White House, you know, a vote for Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris, because, you know, if Biden get into the White House, I mean, that dude, he not looking so good. He gonna die soon. And if Biden dies, then we gonna have ourselves the first black female president. Really? This is all you all are talking about. So anxious just to make history that you're not looking at anything else. You're not looking at what this woman has done. How many black people that she's locked up in the state of California? Even as far as like locking up black women in California, she has done. She locked up a black woman under her truancy law. Because I guess, you know, this black woman's son didn't go to school. Even though the black woman herself would take her son personally to school, the son would slip out the back door. And then, you know, she was locked up and had to spend 6 months in jail. And when Kamala Harris was confronted with a whole lot of people and and talked to about a lot of people who are locked up, only thing she could do is just simply laugh. This woman doesn't have, any kind of caring or love for us as a people. The most blackish thing that she has ever freaking done in her whole life is maybe when she joined the fraternity of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And that is about it. Other than that, she could care less. She did not go through some of the same struggles that we have gone through. Her ancestors have not gone through slavery and Jim Crow like we've had to go through. Because even though her father is from Jamaica, many people are not saying that her father is also part white. And even my mother had to say, every single time they call this woman African American, she says she gets completely offended. She is not one of us. But so many black folk, stupid, ignorant, trifling black folk, want to prop this woman up as a possible candidate for vice president. But us, here in the new black media, are helping black people to get much more on code. And we are saying no. Just like she said no to black people when reparations came up for black people. Do something strictly to only help black people? No! This is not somebody who I would want in office. She's a mess. Doesn't even have that kind of character. Anytime you're going to screw around with somebody who's married and done it several times, and just laugh when it comes down to locking people up. Have these stupid laws about marijuana and locking people up for possessing or using marijuana all the time while she is smoking it. How hypocritical. This is somebody who we don't need, and we just should not trust the Kamala Harrises of the world. And I believe our country is going to be in a worse place if Biden, along with Kamala Harris, as vice president, gets elected this November. I think that this country will be going to hell, not only in a handbasket, but in a hanging basket. What can she do after all of the injustice that she has committed in the past with being a career prosecutor? What can she do to reform criminal justice? She can't do anything when she has caused some of the problem in helping to lock people up. If you are a black person, you have helped to lock people up, you can't say one thing about helping to, wrong things that go on in the criminal justice system. She's almost 60 years old. If she has not done anything and promoted any policies to help black people yet, if you're almost 60 and you haven't done it, Lord knows you never will. She has done more to help immigrants and more to help LGBT than she has blacks. This is somebody who we don't need to consider, somebody who we don't even need to think about, and somebody who definitely should not be promoted as someone who's a person of freedom and the bastion of freedom and doesn't have the moral character or fortitude to be a candidate for vice president. So that's what I had for you today. So right now, that's where I'm going to leave this video. If anybody liked this video, please do me a favor. Give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. And tune in next time for another episode of Roosevelt Sounds Off. And until the next video, this has been your friend, brother, and humble servant, Roosevelt, saying peace and blessings to all of you and your families.